Hey guys, it's BlockchainBrad, and we are honored to have a very special guest. His name is Lero. He is the CEO of the IoT Chain. Lero, thank you so much for coming on the channel today. We really appreciate your time.
Hi everyone, I'm very glad to be here.
We are so glad you're here as well. Just for all the listeners of the world, it's important, I suppose, that you know a bit about Lero and his background. He's quite an amazing person. Not only is he the CEO of the IoT Chain, but also he's been a senior entrepreneur and an expert in the IoT field. He has been engaged in small hardware fields for 4 years and has profoundly studied blockchain for 3 years. Lero has deep insights in smart hardware and was invited to a special address and speech in many summits around the world about smart hardware particularly. He has participated in designing smart lighting architecture for several lighting companies at home and overseas. Besides, he has taken part in many designs of smart hardware architecture. So once again, very impressive, very specific skills as well. Thank you so much for being on the channel. So today, Lero, I suppose, given your name is the IoT chain, I suppose the best thing to do is talk about IoT itself, the Internet of Things. Lero, can you tell us what is the Internet of Things?
Internet of Things is everything connected to each other. After that, they can cooperate to service for the person. For example, you drive your car back home. The car will tell your door to open to you, and also the door will tell the for example, lighting things and the heaters and the air conditioner to open that for you. And why they can all do that? Because they are connected together and they have their own feelings. They have their own computing power. So they can connect to each other to serve the person and make the person's future life better and better.
Amazing. So it's machine to machine.
Yeah, machine to machine, they can communicate with each other and don't need a person to point them to do this, to do that. They will do it automatically.
And Lero, just so our viewers and our listeners understand, why is IoT important? Why is it important for the world? Why can't we just use an old system?
You mean IoT chain?
Well, we're going to be talking about that in a moment specifically because we want to know about IoT chain. But why IoT for the world? What's the benefit of IoT?
As you know, people want to have some more easy life, so they need everything to help for you. But without IoT, without things being smart, people just can do all the things by themselves. For example, the graph, he want to cut the graph, so he can't going out. He must need to use the tools by themselves to cut in the graph or hire someone. But for example, if you have a robot, the robot can know how you cut the graph. Then the second day, the people can go out for working, for their dating or for something, okay. And the robot or cutting the grass. So everything.
Yeah. So it's about making our lives easier, essentially.
Yeah. Yes, to make life easier.
Which is the premise for all technology, which is great. Well, obviously you represent the IoT chain. So let's move across and talk solely on that. What is IoT chain?
As you know, when every device becomes smart, they are like a person. What a person have, the person must have their body and also have a soul. So what we are doing is building the soul of every computer, every smart IoT things.
Okay, so the blockchain is the soul.
Yeah, the soul of the IoT devices.
Okay.
It's like its meaning is like Microsoft to a computer, because as you know, the Microsoft operating system, if you without that, your computer can't work. If you don't, the same as the Apple computer. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the macOS system, your computer can't work, and also it extended into the cell phone. If your cell phone don't have a iOS, have an Android inside, it's just like garbage.
Right. So essentially, what you're saying, sorry to interrupt, but for our listeners, is that one analogy is a soul, another one is a brain. It rhymes so well with chain, in that really, essentially, the IoT chain could be the brain of the body, allowing the whole body to function very efficiently, but from one key key role, and that is to provide with the intelligence behind the system. So could you tell us a bit about why is it that blockchain is so important, particularly in this space with the IoT, with the Internet of Things? Why decentralize?
This is a very, very good question. For example, first of all, you know the IoT devices has the very small computing power. For example, the door ring, it has just the thinking, ring or not. The door has the open or not.
Right.
And every other thing is very simple solve. So what is simple solve will face? Simple solve is like your simple computer. For example, your computer don't have many just have 1 GB of RAM, or just 1G power of the core. So the hackers was very, very, very easy to attach it to hack into a system. For example, they hack to your computer. They can open your computer's camera, and so they can monitor you everywhere, every time. So also, if your life is full of the IoT things, for example, your camera was be hacked. So whatever you do, we are under the
surveillance.
Yes.
So
yes,
even right now, technically, with the system that I use, I could be monitored and not know it. It's possible. So with the blockchain, for example, are you going to try and help that problem go away with a solution? So through the blockchain as a decentralized system, does that provide for some solutions to these problems of surveillance, these problems of hacking?
Yes. For example, what we will do is, first of all the IoT devices are learning from the internet architecture. All the IT, what he said is he must have a centralized server, and every device connect to the server.
Right.
And for example, if someone hacked into the, for example, Tesla, if someone hacked into the central server of the Tesla, so they can control the all world's Tesla,
right,
to do something bad. I think you just see the speed. Chinese is speed 4 is running speed. You know the movie.
Yes.
In the movie, they just control 10 cars. So it was very easy to hack into IoT things. But think, what if we bring the Bitcoin and the Ethereum security into this device? So the Bitcoin will never be hacked, as we know now. So if we bring this Bitcoin class security into the IoT devices, all the world will be very, very secure and served for you. So this is why we are use the blockchain technology to the IoT devices.
Thank you so much, Lero, because one of the things that really does stand out about BTC, among many things, is its ability to be so secure and so privatized. And in that respect, what you're doing is bringing that in to that technology, that one part of BTC, and you're using that for your Generation 3 blockchain, which is really exciting because that's exactly what makes it stand out, in that you are able to make it secure, make it safe. But let's talk about blockchain itself. Can you tell, because many people are still trying to understand blockchain, what is blockchain generally, and why is it important?
Blockchain is a consensus of everything, I think, because in the long time ago, people don't have a consensus. People don't feel very often don't feel very fair in their lives, so they need a centralized power.
Okay.
If they are fighting with each other, if they are arguing with each other, they find the powerful man to judge for us. When the people come out, the judged man is like the capital of the village. Then is the capital. When the person when we are generating when we are went to this generation, this is like is a Congress. Every everything about the world, everything about our country, need to listen to the Congress.
Right. So thank you for that, Lero. Just to clarify, essentially what you're saying is that you don't need to have that centralized mechanism in place. You can circumvent many of the middlemen, and you can go straight to the source. You can provide for services to a user without having to have a lot of backlog of, I suppose, inefficient processes that you don't need. On top of that, it's completely decentralized. And so in that respect, it's the complete opposite to the way the models work right now.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. Thanks for explaining that. If we move across now to some of the real-world solutions, some of the specific applications of the IoT chain, can you tell us about those very generally and in a brief sort of summary? Real-world applications and the real-world solutions that you provide.
For example, people go to travel. People go to travel. They book the Airbnb.
Okay.
Right. They're booked at Airbnb, and you go to the Airbnb, and then you use the for example our ITC to open a house. Then you find everything we are customized for you. For example, you just need bed, you just pay for the bed.
Right.
For example, you want the bed plus the air conditioner, you just pay the bed plus the air conditioner. And also, if you feel this house was very good, what you will do? You want to buy in there. What you will do? You will find the host to say, "Hey, hi, I love your house. Can you buy it for me?"
Exactly.
But the speed is very slow, and sometimes you can't find. Sorry, I was on the vacation. Don't call me.
Right.
Like that, you host. But if everything IoT include the house and include the microwaves, including the air conditioners, they are embedded with our ITC, the blockchain, the IoT chain. Okay. They will do like that. If you want to rent them, you just open your cell phone, rent 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Okay. If you want to buy in the house, just the same. You just swipe, say buy it. Then you buy in the house. And a year after, you don't like the house anymore. Also, someone going to site, use a smart contract, open the door and sleep for some hours. No matter is sleeping or just trying. He said 3 days after he wants to buy the house. So you can transfer your house property into that guy. And also, everything around the world, you want to buy it, you want to rent it, also, or you can buy it and rent it. So this is a very, very, very big smart sharing economy based on our ITC.
and exactly, and it's really fascinating that you said that, because when we talk about the word things, it's one of the best words in English, because it can be anything. There you go. The word anything has the word thing in it, but it can be any item. So really, the potential, and we can talk about this later with your vision, but the potential for IoT is absolutely massive. It's really endless when we see all the applications. And obviously, you've explained that with a good example. But what's interesting also, it sounds like it's quite seamless, quite easy for people to use. Is that the plan? Is that people can use things like their phone eventually to just transact and make decisions about things?
In fact, Airbnb has some goal. No, if you rent, you can use the Airbnb to open the door, because Airbnb is just use the one IoT machine is the lock. Every lock is a smart lock, so you can use the smart lock to control the property of the house. But in the future, everything we are embedded in a chip. It's our chip. It's like something like yes, everything will have a chip. And so with this chip.
Sorry, Lero, can you explain the chip? What you mean?
The chip works like this. For example, if you want to, the chip is embedded. For example, the chip is like this.
Yes.
If you want to, there is a calculator.
Yes.
If you want these things to be smart, you just put the chip inside, and then our operating system is on the chips.
Right.
So
So the question I wanted to ask you though, Lero, is will your company be also responsible for the manufacturing of chips, or will you be using different companies to support you because obviously you're focused on the technology for the blockchain?
we don't produce chips. We
Right.
just produce the software in the chip.
So in the future, you'll be
So
partnering.
yes, I will be a partner of the. It's like ARM, you know. ARM
Yes.
don't produce chips, but he give other chip factory his protocol. So we are the same. We are the protocol provider, and
Right.
other one who want to use our protocol, they can buy our protocol license, so they can use that.
I was going to ask you that because obviously patents are really important to protect your technology, to protect the technology of the chip as well. Once you have
Yeah,
those patents in place, no other company can use it. So is that the
yeah.
case that you have done that?
Yes, we have many we have many patents to send to some 机构 how to say some
The authorities that approve
yeah
them.
yeah yes.
That's great because that obviously for investors is important as well. One of the things that's a standout in your technology, an absolute gem, is a thing called the DAG, or better known as the Directed Acyclic Graph. It's a very important component of your technology. Could you tell us about that and how that works?
Okay, I will first if we before I tell you about that, we tell you about the how Bitcoin and Ethereum works.
Okay.
Yeah, there are many blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The
Okay.
blocks going up. Then if some blocks has the slide blocks and the slide blocks, the main blocks going up, the slide blocks will disappear.
Okay, so
Right?
you have some side blocks and you have a line of independent blocks all connected together.
Yes, this is the blockchain. This is we talk about the Bitcoin.
Right.
Bitcoin works like this.
Yes.
So its performance is very slow because there many slide blocks will disappear, and so yeah, so every consensus need 10 minutes to confirm
Transactions.
yeah transactions. So what is DAG? DAG is if you DAG we call his blockless. He didn't use block. He every transaction was continued transaction, and
Yes.
everything, and is many lines going on, and they will not rallied together.
Right, and so the flow-on effect is just simply an exhausted chain, and it's very slow. Confirmation times are very slow, and it's not robust. It's not detailed. It's just very simplistic. Its design.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
let's talk about the next phase. You mentioned Ethereum as generation 2. We know it has problems. Ethereum is an example. Could you talk us through the way that generation 2 works and what the problems are with consensus?
Generation 2 is works like this. The block was the transition is block going on, and the slide chain has to disappear. But the Tango we call the DAG or the Tango architecture is they are blocked. Every transaction is a block. So
Okay.
we also can call it blockless. So first of all he is very fast because he don't need to consume to consensus or the
Okay.
chain.
So just to
And
recap
this is
on that, just want to make sure everyone understands because it's quite technical, is that it's blockless potentially and it's also faster. So there's great benefits for some of the generation 2. But as we've talked about previously off camera, is that you made it clear that there are some problems. So what are the big problems with consensus of generation 2?
no consensus. This is the most problem.
Okay.
Because if no consensus, no matter how fast it was, when he become a very large network, some nodes will have a double flower problem.
Right, which is the part where they copy each other.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about you as a generation 3 technology. Very exciting, very different to anything we've seen. How does the DAG work for IoTChain?
This is very funny because you all know the DAG is a graph. It's like graph, but it's a big graph.
Right.
But we divide it into the big graph into small graphs, like a tree's leg. Our architecture is combined the DAG and the Mocker tree.
Right, and can I just explain that so everyone understands? What Lero is saying is that he's used the analogy of a tree. So typically with the first DAG, it was much like the trunk of a tree, where you had the structure of a DAG to be a whole robust system. But what Lero's team is doing is they've broken it into branches to make it much more efficient, so that the DAG can represent parts of each branch. Would you like to continue on and explain that?
Yeah, yes. Because our architecture is a tree. It has a main backbone inside.
We call that the trunk.
We can track. Yeah, they have many
branches.
many DAGs, many branches, and every branch has a DAG graph in it. So when they need to consensus, they can find two points to use as a consensus point.
I see.
So every value in the DAG graphic don't exchange by themselves. They use the main tree. They use the main tree to consensus.
Okay, so what's really clear is that in your generation 3 design, with the way in which you've used the tree and you have several branches with the DAG being, multiplied throughout the structure of the branches, the number one thing that's clear from what you're saying is that you achieve consensus very easily and very effectively.
Yeah.
So if we could move on now and talk about the overall protocol design. One thing we noted is that you underpinning your structure is what we know as the PBFT, a very, very beneficial protocol. We see it really. We see a strong commonality in many different blockchains right now with Byzantine fault tolerances. Can you talk about yours, the PBFT, and why you use it this way?
First, we use the PBFT. In fact, we use the Fabric architecture to use, but we plug in because they are can pluggable. They are can pluggable. So we plug in some consensus code inside to make the traditional PBFT into more and more fashioned in the consensus when they are consensus.
So just to make it clear for everybody, when Lero was talking about Fabric, he's talking about a technology that was made by IBM essentially through Hyperledger's research and technology. So Lero, can you tell us a bit about why you decided to utilize the Hyperledger Fabric? Why did you use that when you could have chosen other BFTs? You chose the PBFT. Is there any reason?
Yes, as we know, the blockchain, IBM is a leading company around the world, and many protocols many machine-to-machine protocols are produced by IBM. So also the same, the M2M protocol, we call the MQTT, and the PBFT are the same. Come from the same company, so we are trusted into IBM. So we choose the PBFT to do this.
So Lero, thank you for explaining that you do use the protocol, the PBFT, but obviously it is the protocol designed by Hyperledger with its Fabric protocol. Yes. Are you considering, or are you working towards being part of Hyperledger, which is the alliance associated with the PBFT?
Yes, we have a good relationship with the IBM Hyperledger, which was also use the PBFT architecture. And for in the future, we can release some news to tell others that we have a good communication and with them. And also, IBM was the very early volunteers in the IoT field, because now all the IoT things around the world are using the IBM MQTT protocol. So use this to add in to cooperate with Microsoft to cooperate with IBM is a very natural step for we are doing our public chain.
Right, and I have to tell you as well, Lero, with all my knowledge of the Byzantine fault tolerance protocols around the world that are used. For example, in South Korea, there's a very well-known one. We won't name names. They use an LBFT. In China, there's a very, very famous blockchain that uses a DBFT. Each of the BFTs, the Byzantine fault tolerances, are about security. They provide an unforkable system. So it's important that I think the viewers know that you're going to have this combination. If you get the Hyperledger Alliance agreement, which is likely to happen, you're going to have that agreement with a very, very strong company, IBM, one of the strongest in the world in arguably the supply chain space especially. But you're also going to be a public blockchain. And that's very important for public access, for utility, for people to utilize the Internet of Things. So you have the connections with a very prominent company. You have you as a public blockchain. But what's better also is that you cannot be forked, unlike some of your counterparts, which we won't name names, which again just strengthens the quality of your business.
Yes, our chain is unforkable.
Yes. So if we could talk about the DAG once more, then that's the directed acyclic graph. Can you tell us about that in relation to Tangle? And the reason why I ask this is because the IOTA network utilized Tangle specifically. So why is your approach better the way you do it than IOTA?
We can compare it like this. For example, the IOTA, his technology is very good, but he didn't have their own chips, and they can't burning them into their own chip. We call the design in. For example, me and IOTA goes to the customer to sell our products, to sell our protocol.
Okay.
And what we say is, hey boss, you just buy my chips. You just buy my chips, and our software is in the chip. The boss will say, oh my God, how can I use it? I say, you just plug it inside, it's okay.
Right.
Everything you don't know what is blockchain. You don't need to know blockchain. You just plug on, and your device will be secure. And when IOTA guys goes there, maybe he will tell the big boss, the customer, their customer, ask, how can I use the IOTA? Maybe the IOTA team will say, okay, you just go to our GitHub to learn how to fork the code.
I see.
And get it. Yes.
So to clarify that, thank you for explaining that. What you're saying essentially is your way is much easier. For the user experience, you just arrive, you know that the chips are there, and you can access the information via the already established partnerships you've created with the chip being in place. Whereas if the other side, if you use Tangle, you need to go to GitHub, you need to understand the protocol, the language, and it's a much more detailed and complicated process. Is that fair to say?
Yes. And in addition, this is especially in China. Chinese factories and Chinese manufacturers didn't know code. They just want to purchase something that can be plugged inside to finish. They didn't have they don't have an engineering team to engineering the codes. So IOTA maybe just it's very hard to cooperate with the normal companies, and maybe their IOTA's customer, they are very huge companies, because very huge companies can understand their codes, but most hugest company just in 5% of all the IoT companies. Most 95% of companies are the small company. The small company which just wants simple things. Just put this inside, done, okay.
How long have you been situated like this, where you had forged relationships with other companies? How many years have you been building this up?
Maybe need 2 or 3 years. They are now trying to use our technology, and maybe 2 or 3 years they can use the knowledge, push it to their customers.
Okay. Thanks, Lero. Just on the next question, I want to ask you a bit about data ecosystems, and it's clear that that's part of your plan. The ITC, which refers specifically to your IoT chain, it's going to become one of the most abundant data ecosystems in generations of IoT, and it's likely it's going to generate large amounts of data based on smart devices and people's behavior. So can you explain how this is going to happen? How are you going to do this?
Yes, this is a very, very good question. we know what is, I can tell how I understand AI. AI, I think it means big data plus algorithm plus equals AI. Because if you want to AI, you need to learn something. What you learn is big data, and the big data plus algorithm. The big data uses the algorithm to miss your score, miss your the things you want. So who has the big data? Many years ago, maybe computer operating system users have your data. For example, your computer has all your things, you have data. But now the smartphone has your data. But the smartphone has your data. But in the future, who has your data? For example, the car running our operating system. The car knows everywhere you go.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, and your cap, this thing, your cap know every day when you come to your office how many waters you drink. So, who can have your data is all your things you have data. But why we can get this data? Because they are using our operating system. So
I see.
this is thing. It's
And
very
in many ways, you're building an intelligent economy. We've heard about slogans like smart economy from other blockchains, but you're building an intelligent one where machines interact, they converse together. So in terms, we've talked about some of the experience, but more specifically and more broadly, can you tell us about the experience of your team? In a very general sense, what's the experience and where's the focus?
Our team is focused on. I think the big data is the next step. First step, our approach is let more and more sites are using our operating system.
Right.
This is what we are thinking.
Okay. So would it be fair to say also to you, Lero, that you are heavily focused on engineering and that technology is the first focus of your project, and then you want to build out to other areas like marketing, like as you enter into the blockchain space? Right now, are you all focused on the technology?
Yes, we are. Not right now. I was focused on the technology to make the things better.
So Lero, you've talked about the teams, and that was really interesting. Could you tell us about the partnerships that you currently have? We've seen them outlined in your white paper, for example, with the FBG Capital as just one. But can you tell us about A, the partnerships that you have now, and more importantly, B, planned partnerships for the future?
Because Link VC and the FBG Capital has invested almost 40 projects. So all his project, I think our project will be the most basically fundamental for every project. For example, every project need a fundamental operating system. So we can cooperate with their companies.
Right. So just in terms of future, this is really important because all the people around the world will be excited as they learn more partnerships that you establish. Can you tell us some of the partnerships you're planning or you're looking into?
We are contact with like I can give out an example.
Okay.
For example, one of my project called one of my friends' project is the GVC. He's put a small box in China's or village.
Okay.
So provide them information for them. So they will use our technology to ensure the things security. And more companies are cooperate with us. For example, with the small machine-to-machine payments.
Right. So are you talking about peer-to-peer or machine-to-machine payments?
Machine-to-machine payments.
Okay. Because obviously it's Internet of Things. Are these companies small or large that you're connecting with?
They are very large companies because in China many large companies can put down an ICO because small companies are very hard to go in this site.
Right. So obviously, obviously they understand the magnanimity of your company or the potential for that, the large scale. So if we move across now to one very interesting thing about your company that sets you apart, and that is your intelligent lighting devices. You were mentioning that before. Why is that important? Why is lighting particularly relevant? And can you talk about that in the context of nodes and distribution across the world?
Okay, it's a good question. As we know, how to scale a blockchain project, good or not, we are looking to their nodes. For investor, maybe they are looking for their token holder, right?
Right.
The more project is good, the more token holder is the more token holder, and so the same is the same with us. We are doing if we want to go into the big field of the IoT devices, we must first choose one. For example, now we chose lighting because everyone needs lights. For example, someone don't need refrigerator, and the old ones don't need cell phone, and the young one don't watch TV. But everyone need a light. So we use the light for first step to build up maybe the world's most biggest M2M fundamental.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because of two things. One is you're talking about utility. So you're talking about something that's spread across almost all areas of the globe. It's something that's a necessity for people, and you decided to focus on something that you know will work. That's smart. But the second thing I wanted to ask you about is one of the advisors, as I understand in your white paper, has a lot of experience in this industry. Can you talk a little bit about that person and how they're an asset to your company? Because they're specifically experienced in lighting.
Firstly, I will introduce. Firstly, Liang Ran, he was in his working for the government to doing the national class blockchain. He was the standard writer, standard writer.
Yes.
He write for the standards. And then Liu Xinghao, he just working for Xiaomi, Xiaomi, ChinaMI.com.
Wow. Okay, that's quite big.
And he is the team leader of the Xiaomi blockchain team. And he also introduced and translated the master Bitcoin to China. So they are very strong. And also Ma Zhiwei, he is the world's biggest lighting company holder. He's the big boss of that company.
That's amazing. Yeah. So you have very powerful people in this industry working directly with you.
Yeah.
So would it be fair to say, Lero, you already have a foot in the lighting door and in the industry's door of Internet of Things blockchain? You already are one step in to that system because you have focused on something that you are a world leader in, potentially, with the support you have.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. You should be excited about that because that's a big thing.
Yeah,
that's going to mean that you have an inroad and you'll be able to branch out later on into other areas. Can we talk about that? So obviously step one is lighting, and you have a huge support network there, a lot of skill sets. But what's next after that in terms of focus? What are you thinking beyond lighting?
First, when we build up the biggest fundamental, I will extending to the how to say, industrial.
It was really interesting to hear you talk about the scope and the depth of experience your team bring when it comes to the lighting industry. If we could just talk briefly, though, about the token distribution plan. What's the plan for the future? How can people access tokens? What's the plan that you are preparing as you move into Q1 2018?
Okay. First of all, you can buy the tokens on. We are use the 50% of the token for private sale, and 30 part of for the marketing, and and 15 for our team, and 5 for the 5 for the angels, the angel advisors, and we are already listed on the Huobi .pro and the OKEX.com.
Okay,
And
so just to clarify, so you're listed on 2 exchanges, and is it correct in saying that you are only 100 million in total for your total supply?
Yes.
So that's quite low, and that's comparable to companies like Neo, for example. So that's quite a low maximum supply. So again, we'll reiterate. So it's Huobi, and what was the other exchange?
Yes, we are going not only 2, Huobi, B and the Bbox, BIBOX.com.
Okay. So Lero, thank you for explaining that. So you have 3 exchanges right now that you can access the token. Is that correct?
4 exchanges.
4 exchanges. Oh, that's even better. So you can access it in 4 exchanges, and also we, as you explained, there in the token allocation, there's only a portion that's allocated for the public, and more importantly, the maximum supply of this token is quite low. So it's relatively scarce when we look at the broader picture of many, if we compare that with many tokens. So that's exciting. If we move across now to dates, let's talk about roadmaps. What's the plan for Q1 in terms of your immediate plans and what you want to do with the IoT chain?
The development plan, you mean? The R&D plan? The R&D schedule?
Well, just in terms of what your schedule is and what you want to achieve in Q1 with IoT chain.
At the last quarter of this year, we were testing our main chain and the wallet and the comparison. And in the next year, we will launching our DAG. We are launching our DAG test, and at the end of the year 2018, we will finish all the main chain. We will finish all the main chain and the DAG network process to finish.
So that's really interesting. It's always exciting to see a company take their time. So you're going to spend the whole next year making sure everything's working. When do you think everything will be up and running? Is it likely to be at the very end of next year that it will be all ready?
Yeah, it's part already, and will be run will be finished at the next year, at the end of next year.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, if you think about the investor or someone who's interested in the company and has already contributed in some way, what can they expect to see along that process? Will they see new releases and new information? Will they see in that roadmap between now and the end of next year?
And every week we will put our week report to everyone. And no matter the main chains come out or not, and we can cooperate with the other companies, because we can step by step to finish our R&D steps. So no need to wait for the main chain comes out. Then our BD is still going. Our business deploy is going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for making that really clear. It's really exciting to see that you do have a clear roadmap and that you are taking your time to do something innovative. If we could move across now to IOTA and Tangle, and this is on behalf of a colleague of mine who is a blockchain ambassador. His name is Bite-Size Capital, a very well-respected person in Twitter. The topic is IOTA specifically, and that's because IOTA is very well known. It's a competitor, arguably, of IoTChain. Could we talk about very specifically how you're different to Tangle, how you are different to IOTA in very simple terms? If we want to talk about them, the two, get it really clear, what's the key difference about you?
We are more down earth, and we have some. If the big company want to cooperate with us, they just need to buy the embedded chips. No need to code. So this is very important thing to them.
Yes, and I think we've covered that. So let's talk about security as well. If we compare IOTA to your chain as well, IoTChain, specifically with security, how are you more secure?
Security, because the DAG has he can resist on the quantized hacked.
Okay.
So we are the same with IOTA. So we just have the same security class with them.
Right. So just, Lero, moving on to your vision and your future plan, we talked about
Mm-hmm.
your roadmap, but
Mm.
in a more general sense, not in the outline that you've produced in the specifics, what's your overall vision in the next few years? What would you like to see happen with the IoT chain?
You will see many down-earth corporate with IoT chain with us because we are talking to, I can't say, but the most biggest the sharing economy company, or what we call the sharing economy is like the bicycle, Chinese OFO and mobile bicycle.
Right, okay.
We are talking with the news will comes out. We are talking with the most important, also the most very big sharing economic computer, economy sharing economy.
Wow, that's great to hear. And
Uh,
is there anything that you wanted to add, Lero, with all of your knowledge as the CEO of the IoT chain? You know a great deal. Is there anything you wanted to add to let the listeners know about your company that perhaps we haven't covered?
uh, because we are developing so hard, so we want to do a hirement want to do a hire on this end of the video. We want many kinds of, no matter if you are in developing or marketing or somewhere, if you want to join us, please contact me because we are really do something to change the world.
Absolutely. And Lero, let's talk about access to information. If you want to change the world, and I really believe your team will, if we want to access information about you to learn more, where can we go and what social media platforms can we access?
You can go to our Telegram. First, you can go to our website, means IoTChain.io, and then you can go to our Telegram and the Twitter, Facebook, and WeChat. If you can Chinese, you
Right.
can contact us. Probably you can. Sometimes I go there, so maybe you can contact with me directly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Lero, it's been an absolute privilege. You are a powerhouse when it comes to this kind of technology. You know, you've got a great team behind you, and you are going to be announcing some exciting things in the next few months. So everyone around the world who's interested in this kind of technology, you are one of very few that are doing this kind of thing around the world right now. And we are going to be watching carefully to see, to watch you evolve into a strong and viable company in 2018. So on behalf of all the listeners, all the people who are interested in blockchain, we wish you all the very best, and we'll be watching again to make sure that we support you and that we can encourage others to do the same. So thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much. We are talking so many good topics, and we are looking forward. Next time, maybe we have some big announcements. We can ask you to join us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.